Imagine you're sitting at your kitchen table. Your teenage or adult child asks you for that one thing they always ask for. Perhaps it's a last minute favor that disrupts your peace, or a request for you to fix a problem that's actually theirs to solve. Usually, you would say yes before they even finish the sentence. You would overfunction, over explain, and push your own needs aside just to keep everybody calm. But today, something shifts. Maybe you've been in therapy or you've just hit your limit. You feel it in your chest, that urge to say yes, warring with the knowledge that you need to say no. You try something new. I love you, but I can't do it this time. The silence that follows is heavy. It's not the thank you for your honesty moment you hoped for. Instead, it's a look of confusion, or could it be a sharp remark, or perhaps a cold withdrawal? That silence is the sound of a pattern, a family pattern shifting. It's the part of healing that nobody warns mothers about. When you start healing, you don't just feel different, you behave differently. Your children, whether they're small or fully grown, can react in surprising and even painful ways. This is not because they're being unkind. It's because the old version of you was predictable, and this new version is still being introduced. This video is not about blaming our children. It's about understanding the adjustment period so that you do not panic and collapse back into your old roles. It's about learning how to stay loving without abandoning yourself in the process. I want to share something one viewer made a comment in my community, and what she said really stayed with me. She wrote, I even shocked my own teenage kids when I began to choose myself. They were confused about my new me. They weren't used to me acting this way. I had to explain to them how I'd been a people pleaser, and now I had changed. So they too had to learn to cope with the new me. That moment, having to name out loud what you've been doing for years, having to teach your own children about patterns they grew up watching, that takes tremendous courage. And she said something else that I think many of you will recognize. So I can understand when even other people get confused about my new way of handling things. Because it's not just your children who have to adjust, it's friends, extended family, neighbors, anyone who benefited from the old version of you. She ended her comment by saying, the genuine people will stay and support me, and the users will and should go. And I honor that clarity. What I also want to say is that with children, it's rarely clear because they're not users. They're people we love who are trying to understand why mom feels different. Our job isn't to sort them into categories, it's to stay steady while they adjust. Here's what I've learned: families develop rhythms without anyone saying them out loud. For years, maybe decades, you were the one who absorbed the tension, who made things easier, who said yes when you were already stretched thin. Your children grew up watching that version of you. They didn't know it was costing you something. Now you're healing, working through things that happened long before they were even born, or things they were too young to understand. but they don't see therapy sessions or the journaling that you do or the 3 a.m. cries or realizations that you face. What they see is mom is different, and different feels threatening when you've relied on predictable. When you start saying no or setting a limit or choosing yourself, they're not just reacting to this one moment, they're reacting to the shift in who you've always been to them. I've watched this pattern unfold in my own life and in the lives of countless women I've talked with. Here's what I see most often. First, there's confusion. You think you're being clearer than you've ever been, but to your children and to others, it lands as cold or distance. They might say, "Are you okay?" Or "You seem off." What they mean is, "You're not responding the way I'm used to." Second, there's testing. They'll push a little harder, asking again in a different way, or bring up past times when you said yes to the very same thing. This isn't necessarily manipulation, it's pattern recognition. If the old you always came around eventually, they're waiting to see if this new boundary is real or temporary. Third, and this is the one that cuts deep, withdrawal. They might pull back, get quiet, or create distance. And this is where your own healing gets really tested because every fiber in your body wants to rush in and fix it. That voice in your head screams, "If they're upset with me, I'm failing as a mother." Their discomfort with your growth is not evidence that you're doing something wrong. Trust that. This leads us to what I call the lonely middle. This is the stretch where you're no longer who you used to be, but you're not yet used to who you're becoming. It feels awkward and heavy. You might start thinking you're being mean or cold, but easier is not always healthier. The lonely middle is proof that you're doing something new. I do need to pause here and say something important. I'm not suggesting that every request from your teen or adult child is unreasonable, or that every yes you've ever given was unhealthy. Sometimes they genuinely need help. Sometimes the situation is urgent or they're going through something real. Healing doesn't mean becoming rigid or withholding support when it truly matters. The question isn't, should I ever help my child? The question is, am I saying yes because it's genuinely right? Or am I saying yes because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't? And I'm referring to teenagers and adult children, not babies. If you're saying yes from fear, obligation, or the belief that their discomfort means you're failing, that's when the pattern needs to change. But if you're saying yes from a grounded place where you've considered your own capacity and chosen freely, that's not people pleasing. That's just love. The work is learning to tell the difference. How do you stay steady when everything in you wants to fold? I use what I called the loving boundary formula. It has three parts. First, name the love. Start with "I love you" or "I care about you." This isn't manipulation, it's the truth. Your boundary isn't evidence that you love them less, it's evidence that you're learning to love yourself too. Second, name the change. "I'm doing this differently now," or "I'm not able to do this at this time." You don't owe them a dissertation on your healing journey. A simple, clear statement is enough. Third, allow the feelings. And this is the hardest part. I understand you're upset, but this boundary stays. Or sometimes it's just silence, letting their disappointment exist without rushing to fix it. Here's what you're doing when you use this formula. You're showing them that two things can be true at once. You can love them deeply and have limits. You can care about their feelings and not be responsible for managing them. You're teaching them and yourself that being a good mother doesn't require erasing yourself. If you're in the lonely middle right now, if you set a boundary and you're now sitting in that uncomfortable silence, wondering if you've made a terrible mistake, I really want you to hear this. You're not losing your family. You're changing the pattern, and changing patterns always feels unstable before it feels solid. The discomfort you're feeling is evidence that you're doing something new, something good for yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments, which reaction are you seeing the most from your teenage or adult children? Is it confusion where they think you're being distant when you're just trying to be clear? Is it testing where they keep pushing to see if you really mean it? Or is it withdrawal, that painful pulling back that makes you want to abandon everything you've learned? How have your children reacted to your journey in healing? Remember, you're not alone in this. That's the whole point of starting this community. For now, have an amazing day from my heart to yours. Bye for now.